When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gain, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gain.
Literally here with Cassie Parks in Denver post-event. The first time I tried to introduce us, we had a little too much laughter happening. So our topic today, we're going to talk about some keys to fully enjoying your manifestations.
Yes. I'm excited about this. What prompted, what made you think of this topic?
Because we just experienced one of our greatest manifestations together of our largest Manifest It Now live.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't actually know that before
You
we
didn't
started
know?
recording. No, you were just like, this is what I want to talk about. I'm like, okay. And then as you were introducing it, I'm like, I wonder what was up, which I love that answer because I think we did a great job. I give us an A+.
Yeah. I think yesterday when it was all happening, I was very aware of enjoying it and being present with it and feeling all the feelings and just really loving all the parts of it, having people come in, getting ready for it, thinking about it. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really, I'm really able to enjoy this fully. And this would be powerful to talk about how everybody, because sometimes I find we just rush through our manifestations and it's almost like we miss them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This just came up for me because I had a flashback to our second Manifest It Now live. Do you think that it almost takes some things, right? Like some things we manifest once, but some things are growing. Most things are growing. It takes a couple times, and that the tendency is for people to not appreciate it, but it's really when you get into sort of the third and the fourth iteration or something sort of grown to all these new levels, that's when you really get to appreciate it because it's become familiar.
Yeah, I do think there's an element of that, of familiarity, and you relax into it way more because probably we have to learn. And I think of it this way as not controlling so many details, because when it's unfamiliar at the beginning, we're trying to control all the details, make sure everything's right. So it's a good experience. And then as you go through it, that becomes more familiar. And then you're able to relax more about all those things.
And that is a gift. And I also think that's maybe where some people don't take even more time to appreciate, right? Because it's become familiar. So it's almost like some people see it as old news, right? Versus really that's where the magic is. That's where you can get in and you juice the experience and appreciate every single moment of it because you're relaxed enough that you're you're wide open for that.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people, that's where they miss it. They miss that magic opportunity.
Right. that brings me back to, you can apply it to going on dates.
Yes.
Even I thought about this with Lisa a couple of weeks ago, and we were going out, and for a second I was like, oh, this is so normal. And I'm like, oh, I want it to feel the magic. And it was just that awareness of bringing that back in and allowing myself to be present and be like, this is everything I've ever wanted. And it's all right here. But I think that sometimes without that conscious awareness and that shift, we're like, oh, yeah, it's just a date. Oh, yeah, we're going out to dinner. Oh, yeah, it's this restaurant or whatever.
Right. We've done this before.
Yes.
We do this routinely. It's Tuesday or whatever day. You know what I mean?
And really, it's what you've always wanted.
Yes.
And we pass that up because we're not being present with it or appreciating fully all of our manifestations.
Yeah. So there's two keys we should probably go into is being present and appreciation.
Yes.
Yeah. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Appreciation.
I love it.
So what was your experience with the event? How were you appreciating it?
So for me, I think appreciation starts with acknowledgement. And we talked a little bit before the call about this, or before we started recording, since we're live. Oftentimes we'll use the term awareness to like catch our thoughts in the beginning of shifting. And so as things start to shift and as you start to manifest, I think acknowledging like all the pieces, not acknowledging like, oh yeah, we have a great event, it was super fun, but acknowledging all of the pieces to it. It was our biggest event ever. It was so much fun. It was in my house, like our biggest dinner ever. Like it was just magical. Like all the parts of it were magical.
Before, when we were out getting ready for things, and the bill or the receipt that we at the store came to like 111.88, and Cassie and I both got excited, and there was the cashier was standing there kind of like looking at us, but we're like, oh my gosh,
right? We're like, yeah. It was, and then there was even like a second number. I don't remember.
It was 21424 or something.
Yeah, it was like the receipt number or something. Yeah. And so, yeah, just being in those moments and soaking it all in, right? Because taking the time to see the numbers and have fun, and this is so much fun, and just like acknowledging every step along the way, I think leads to that appreciation that like, this is so amazing. And when you get either you're too busy or you're too sort of, you've become complacent, you don't acknowledge, and therefore you can't even appreciate it.
Yeah. I think that's a great word to bring in, like complacency. We get complacent with stuff that is not the first time or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times when we think about manifesting something, we're thinking about the first time we experience it.
Yeah.
That first date, meeting my partner, making that money, seeing that weight on the scale the first time. We don't practice the excitement for like the normal reality of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think tell me if you think, do you think we've done that like with the event, which is why it was easier to acknowledge along the way?
What do you mean?
Like we manifest, like we love the first time, but we're always looking for like sort of that normal, like this is normal, this is what we do.
Yeah.
Like this is just a part of what we do, whether we do it once a year, we do it 3 times a year, or, you know, just randomly have a pop-up in 5 days or something, which might happen sometime in the future. You never know. Like we're very like, it's normal, but it's also like we're manifesting the normalcy of it.
Yes. Yeah, I like that. And I think that's actually powerful to bring into our manifestations in everything. I like to actually practice the normalcy of something I don't have.
Me too.
Or an experience. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like, that's why my clients, we script the same thing a lot of times over and over, because it becomes normal. It becomes, you know, every detail. It's these things that we're talking about. So I know I'm probably going to get a lot of comments about this, which is awesome, but it's so it becomes normal. We see all those details, you know, and you're practicing that, and you're practicing still appreciating it and loving it and being excited about it, but also the normalcy.
Yeah. Because that's what we want out of life. If you think of manifesting just as like the high, comes, I guess, kind of in the highs and lows. So if that's your experience, maybe it's because you're going after just the instant or the initial feeling that comes with the high. And then it's like the drugs, like you need another bigger thing. You need it more and more and more. Instead of manifesting or practicing and reaching for, setting the intention for the normalcy of it, that it always feels, the first time I get that $100 client, then that's exciting. And the second time it's as exciting. And then the 100th time it's as exciting.
Right. Do you practice that? I know I did. Like, as you were saying it, I was like, oh yeah, I always practice that.
Yeah,
like I get just as excited every time a new client, like as the first one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I still deliberately do. So sometimes I will catch myself being like, oh, I did, like, I remember a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, another client. I'm like, oh, wait, another client. Like,
right? Yeah.
So you can bring yourself back to that.
Another example that I want to give in terms of this for our listeners is when you're buying a new car.
Because Cassie and I both want to manifest new cars.
We do. There is a Tesla that is finding its way to this house shortly. Me too. I'm excited. So most people, when I think they think about manifesting, they think about like the day they sign the paperwork. They probably visualize like signing on the dotted line and picking it out, and if there's a bow on it, and talking to the salesman. And what you want to do is practice the excitement of getting in that car every day, the excitement of the everyday, like normal drive, and it's still being exciting and you still love it.
Yeah.
Which is two-part important, right? Is number one, that makes manifesting, like I always believe, go past what you want. I've always, like for a long time, been go past the normal, you know?
Yes.
And, or go to the place where it's normal.
Yeah.
And, but it also like, then you practice that excitement. It's just not about getting a thing, which you were talking about, like getting the high of
It's about like the lifestyle.
yes,
Yeah.
it's about every day. It's about how that makes you excited every day, which makes that manifestation last longer. And again, you can get more juice out of it.
You're connected to it more. This is
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about, like enjoying your manifestations. And this is such a powerful way to get there.
Yes.
The way that, and in the vibrational sense of that, when something feels like a big deal, we're actually like far from it. We're not, there's a gap there. We're not totally aligned with it because it feels so far. That's why it's like, oh my God feeling. But as you guys know, and Cassie and I know, have experienced, the things that we want when they manifest, they feel very normal.
Yes.
The amounts of money in the bank, the people in our lives, the things happening in our business, there's a sense of like excitement, but of course.
Right.
Yeah. And I was talking to my mom last week and she got this great news for with her health. And she was like, this is so exciting. And she's like, but I also knew it was happening. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it.
Right.
Like there's a normalcy to it when you're aligned with it. It's like a sign of alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, because I think people, when they're starting out or newer or I don't know, just haven't mastered this part, that they think that normalcy is going to take away from the special, which is why they like don't want to do that.
Yeah. But if you think about that, and just like listen to how we're talking about this, it can be as exciting forever.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't have to just be the first part or the getting it or the first experience with it.
Right.
It can continue to be that. And so starting to like plan for that is going to set you up for more of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is so, again, that's where the magic and the juice comes in, is like when you see it as normal and you see, I can be excited about it forever.
Yes.
Like it doesn't, then you're not like, you don't have to start over like manifesting something new right away.
Yes.
You can build, like add, more fun things instead of just, like, oh, now I want to like manifest a new thing. Like, I want another new car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good example. And so let's come back to our second point of like being present with your manifestations.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. So practicing presence, I think all the time is important. Like when that becomes your habit, being super present in the moment, with what's happening, right? Is super important to being present with your manifestations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that practice.
Yeah. Practice.
Practice pays off, guys.
Yeah. It so pays off. And like, that was one of our themes really that came up at Manifest It Now Live is you don't get it after one time. Like this is a practice. You're continually growing so that this stuff becomes normal.
Yeah.
Like the act of manifesting becomes normal. And when you become more present in your life, like you can it's easier when the awesome things come to just be present. You just soak it up, you just get to enjoy every person that shows up at the door and every person you show the house and every person who like a notebook, like you get every moment because you're not your head. Speaking from like yesterday, my head wasn't like, oh my gosh, we gotta get this, we gotta get this, we gotta get this. It's like, yay, there's another person here. Like it wasn't like, who's here? Are we gonna run late? Like any of that nonsense, right? It was like, oh, this person's here. Like I get to welcome you. Like amazing.
Yeah. I definitely think that takes a lot of practice, and it ties into one of our other themes from yesterday about trust.
Yeah.
And because the more you trust things to fall into place and the more you trust yourself, the easier it is to be present because you're not trying to control all the details.
Yes.
And you just get to experience what's in front of you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are such great examples. Like when someone came in, it was like, hey, welcome, hello, nice to meet you sometimes, you know? And hugs and instead of, is everybody here? Are we going to be on time? Like, these are all the things that we could get caught up in, but we understand the power of, like, we want to feel all the goodness of this fully. And so we deliberately make those choices.
Right. Yeah. And deliberately just choose to be there. I don't even remember, but somebody was like, "Oh, sir, I'm sorry." I'm like, "You're perfect. Just come in." Like, two other people
Cassie's
just walked in.
favorite thing to say, "You're perfect."
You're perfect.
It's wonderful to be around her because you're always perfect.
Always perfect. It is my favorite thing to say when someone's like, "I'm sorry," or "I didn't mean to get in your way," or like, "You're perfect." Like, it's all perfect.
And that comes from a total place of, like, Cassie, I don't need you to be a certain way to feel good.
Right.
That's what that's saying.
Yeah.
Just do you. You're good.
Yeah. Be you. You're good. You're awesome. Like, just glad, like, we're in the moment now. So, like, it's all perfect.
Yeah.
You're here. And whatever that, like, whether that's you, like, you as a person or an experience, you know, like, whoever it is, whether it's a guest or it's anyone in my life, like, you're perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so often, and one of the reasons we were kind of talking about this is in our manifestations, and we can use different examples. Like, if you're an athlete and you have a game or you're doing a race and you're just like, oh, got to get to the end, got to get to the end of the race, got to finish the game, got to, you know, that kind of thing. Or you're dating, got to get to the end of the date. Is he going to like me? Is he going to ask me out? That kind of thing. Or, what's another example? Like, sometimes we just rush through the things that we actually want and we forget to say, oh my gosh, this is what I wanted right in front of me, and it's all happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so much better when you can just soak it in.
And then you ask yourself, then you're feeling that, oh, I'm not fulfilled in my life because I'm always going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And truly the key to connecting and feeling that fulfillment is being present to enjoy the things that you've manifested.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was one of the other themes that came up last night about how we need to, and we can practice enjoying and appreciating everything that has manifested instead of always just looking at what's next.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say it again. Appreciate everything that has manifested instead of what's next. You know, and I think that's good practice for us with Manifest It Now lives, because sometimes there was another one, but sometimes there wasn't. And so there's even more, like, it just happened naturally that we're like, that was awesome. Like, so great. Because there wasn't another one always, you know, only once really has there been like another one to get ready for.
Yeah.
And so leaving that space is really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And part of that too is not judging the thing or the manifestation that's showing up as not enough.
Right.
Because we started our first event with one person and neither of us ever said that it should be different.
Right.
We were totally like, this is amazing.
Yeah. This is awesome.
And we didn't think past that. It was a complete like trust of there's going to be another one and it will be different. But still there was, when you define whatever's showing up, like your manifestations or your outcomes or whatever, as this is exactly what it's meant to be, what it needs to be. It shouldn't be different in any way. It gives the space to feel it fully.
Right. Yeah. And I would say, like, I felt just as fulfilled with this really big table and a room and everything as I did with our, like, at one of our events. Well, all of like our events that I've had one at the VIP dinner or just because it's the same.
It's the same experience.
Right? It's the same experience, right? Yeah.
The details just change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What was the other part of that? Oh, I lost it.
All right. So we talked about acknowledging and appreciation and being present to enjoy your manifestations, really preparing for the normalcy instead of the high. Anything else that we like want to hit on this?
Well, one of the themes that came up yesterday too, we touched on a little bit, but the trust thing.
Yes.
Because there was a lot of questions about that and they were amazing and we got into some good stuff. And it's, again, something that we practice.
Right.
Yeah. And what else did you want to say about that?
About trust? Oh man, so many things.
I think the how thing, we were talking about how we're always asking the how.
Yes.
And yet when if you just do it instead of asking how, I know it's hard to explain.
It is. So often, and you can, you see it. It's when there's a how question. Even sometimes you're so in the how that you don't even hear the answer right away, right?
Yes.
And you go back into it's kind of a how-what cycle. How do I do it? What do I do? And then it's okay, you do this. So when there's an answer of a how, and I've seen this with lots of people, not just yesterday, but we give it's okay, how do I do this? And then you give them the answer, and it's but what do I do?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, this is what you do. But how does this happen? Right? And it's this how what cycle. And so if you catch yourself in the how what cycle, we don't very often say move into action, but just go do whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Right? Go do the answer. Don't try and figure out how to do it or exactly what to do, depending on where you are in the cycle. Go do it, because that's where you get the information. Right?
Yeah.
And so whether you're trusting the process of working with a coach and just doing the assignment or doing whatever you're supposed to do next, or you're watching, YouTube videos or other things about, listening to us, if we say something and you're yes, that's an answer, before you can even let your brain be how, just go try.
Yes.
And that's
go apply
it. And because even if you technically do it wrong, right? If you were to come back to us and we're oh, that's not what we would have done. You gain more from trying and doing it and applying it than you do by asking, okay, what exactly do I do? And then how do I do that? And then what do I do? And then how do I do it?
And so much of when you're asking the hows is still, it's distracting you from actually doing it, from practicing it, from applying it. And so one of the ways and the tricks, I think I talked about this last week on something else. It was just say you're willing. Okay. So if your mind goes to how do I do that? Just say I'm willing to try this, or I'm willing to apply this, or I'm willing to see the answer, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so you get out of the mental pattern of distracting yourself, and you being willing is practicing it, right? Because you're applying it then. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's such the way we go into things so changes what we get out of them. And so often it's even change it again. It's just going to apply something, being willing to try it, being willing to see the answer, versus trying to figure out exactly how. And so often, I mean, I've given assignments to my clients before. I'm you can't ask a question for 30 days.
Yeah.
You
I haven't done 30 days, but I've done that too.
I'm
and they're what? Wait, how am I supposed to do that?
Right. Yeah. It's you just go apply however you best think it is to apply, versus continuing to ask me a question and then thinking about it, not doing it, coming back and asking a question, because you get in that how what cycle.
Yeah. I think part of what might play into that as well is this need to get it perfect.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my gosh, let's talk about this.
Yeah. Because when we keep asking how, it's partly because I want to make sure I get it right, instead of just going and trying. There's, think of when you're learning to walk as a kid. And you don't ask how you do it. You just go try and fall. And you fall and you fall and you fall until you get it.
Yeah.
And it can be easier, say in the example of walking, someone can help hold your hand like a coach can do and guide you along the way and be your support.
And say, come on, you could do it. Come here. That's what I was remembering when my niece started walking 3 months ago. We're come on, do it. Yeah.
And so that's exactly that process, but there's no questioning in that process.
Right.
There's just practice.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I want, if you're listening, to walk away with, right? You are likely better off than you think you are.
Right.
Yeah. And farther ahead and doing better. And so to more fully appreciate your manifestations, like remind yourself of everything that is happening and find some appreciation there for it. And then I just love this, thought pattern of I'm doing better than I think I am.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you love that?
It's a great vibe. It's a great vibe.
It is a great vibe.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the perfect, like there is no perfect way.
Yeah.
I mean, and not doing it, like not, even if you're doing it imperfect, you're moving forward, waiting for perfect and trying to get the words exactly perfect. Like it's an evolution. And even if like your coach gives you the perfect words, let's say for a mantra, whatever, something to practice in the beginning, or you choose them, like, you wait, you get them, like often like the most, I don't know, like the powerful, it's an evolution. So you can't even absorb what is the most perfect words, right? You have to go through the process of getting it, quote unquote, wrong, which is not wrong. It's just the process, right? So that you can get to the next, because that's a step. And when you're at that step, then as a coach, we could help you, or you as your own self can see like, oh no, this is more what I want. No, and you can elevate it. But if you're not doing anything, you're standing at the bottom of the steps, you're never making it to the top.
Yeah. I have found so much freedom in letting go of perfection.
Me
in
too.
like every area of my life, my business 100%.
Yeah.
But my relationship, like willing to be imperfect is like so freeing and vulnerable in the way that like I'm willing to be seen as imperfect, and then all of a sudden when someone loves you from that place, you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
This is magic. Like,
this is magic. And there you go. That's how you access that feeling. But you have to be a willingness and getting away from that feeling of perfection or needing to be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, think about it. Like, I don't know a lot of people who actually get a feeling reward off perfection.
Right. It's more like accomplishment and I did it well.
Yeah. And even then, I think it doesn't happen all that often, because when we're striving for perfection, then there's another thing and another thing and another thing.
So you never get there.
Yeah, you never get
guys, perfection means like it's done, and it's never done.
Yeah.
You're never done. And like it's never done.
Yeah.
But our podcast is about to be done. Do you want to share one of your favorite parts from yesterday, or anything else about our event that lit you up?
Yeah, I just loved, I loved so many things. I loved coaching. I loved the connection in the room. I love who we attract. Let's be clear. Like, I love who.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah. Our listeners are amazing, and getting to be in a room full of them is just like, and I take credit for it. I'm like, yeah, I'm awesome. Like, these are the people that I attract, and they are awesome.
Yeah.
And so that, that's for one thing. I'm giving you like 6.
I know. As always, guys, you know this.
Right?
How it goes.
And then at dinner, like, it was the most, our waitress was perfect.
Super
We
cool.
could not have asked for a better waitress, just in her energy and her vibe and her willingness to be excited with the group. And I didn't call and be like, just make sure we get this. Like, I just did it through Open Table, and I said, this is what's going on. Give us the most private space possible. And it was perfection.
It was so perfect.
Yeah. And so I just loved walking into that, knowing I just really set the intention, and it all worked out. And then, of course, like being at the table and telling stories. And for me, when we started this, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted for people to be able to get coaching from us, and then at the VIP experience, be able to ask, like, okay, when you said this, personal questions, like, what did that mean? And
what
how
was
did
that
this go?
story? How did that actually go?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Tell me this story in full detail, because you've mentioned this on the podcast.
Yeah.
And it was really fun to be able to both tell our love stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I had a really great experience. So girls in my year-long group, we got to connect today for a hike, and it was amazing and magical, and I never ever planned it. It just fell into place, and it was perfect. And one of the women, I was asking them about the event, obviously, and she said, I didn't really ask any questions, because she's like, I knew how powerful my experience was 2 years ago, or a year and a bit.
Yeah.
And she says, I just wanted other people to have that experience.
Aww.
And I was like, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So it was awesome.
It was so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. That's all for this week. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Go be awesome.
Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.